There's no question that the American Illuminati will attempt to use mandatory vaccinations on every man, woman, and child in this country. In fact, they already purchased 300 million doses of smallpox vaccine to be used. They used to have larger lots of vaccines. Now they're in single doses where they could actually embed a chip in you via the single-dose vaccine. State-mandated laws are forcing our children to have vaccines just to participate in any school program. And right now, through CAPTA, the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, that's in all the states, they are threatening to take away custody of people's children if they do not get these vaccines.
Anthony, we just aired a clip from 911 Greatest Lie Ever Sold where this lady from Idaho was saying if you don't vaccinate your child, then they can actually take them away from you, take him away from you. Is that indicative of the other lack of choice we're going to have?
Well, that's part of the program, but that leads to the citizenship.
Right.
So you think that they're actually putting those chips in vaccines, or that they can do it?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. They've got it as small as a dot. When I say like a pinpoint.
That is true. I just saw that news story today, Anthony. It's so small. It's like a small ink dot on your hand. You know, a lot of our viewers write to us. They come in and talk to Kate and I, and they say, I'm not going to get the chip. And you know, we don't know what to tell them. What would happen if somebody did not get the chip or the vaccine? How would their life be? Yeah, well, apart from that, I mean, we know you can't buy, but are they going to be picked up and put in an internment camp, or what will happen to people who refuse the chip?
Well, it's going to be, if we allow it, the Nazization of the nation, and I call it the Nauseization of the nation. It's the abolition of our borders, and conditional upon citizenship. You have to have the biochip.
But what will happen if you refuse?
There's the prison camps. That's why we have FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's the management of people. It is the abolishment of all freedom for all people for all time. Never in the history of the world has so few done so much so often to hurt so many. We're taking a look at not simply the Nazization of this nation, but the globalization of this nation and the Nazi program, which is going on a daily basis. We have George Bush in Mexico, the Canadians, and the people are demanding this of the people. The Mexican government forced the inoculation of their chief people in certain areas of Mexico. They forced them to take a chip. Conditional. The condition was that they would not be employed by the government if they didn't take it.
Boy.
It was mandatory. And that's what we have today, is a mandatory Nazization program being installed. The good people of Mexico are coming here because they can't find a job, they can't make a living south of the border. And this is done deliberately. They want the invasion of this nation, and there's some 21 million living here illegal. They're not going to enforce the border program. They don't want anything like that. That's why they create the problem and then offer the solution. The solution is saying, well, we'll give you citizenship, and we're going to have an amnesty program, but you have to take a chip because, you know, look at all these Mexicans. How can we tell one from the other? You're going to have this. And when the women go into the hospitals and the children have vaccinations, it becomes mandatory. And they can place that little chip, which is the size of a dot, so that they can track them, they can trace them, they can control them. And if they don't obey, they can kill them.
Ooh. Now, well, that's a pretty scary thought. By turning on the chip, or by grabbing them and putting them somewhere? That's the question.
Well, you have right now individuals who go into prison and they're released. They can go home, they can stay at home, but they have a little ankle bracelet.
Right.
Yeah, like Martha Stewart had.
Right, just like Martha Stewart had.
Right.
But this, they just simply inoculate them, and they can trace them. They can tell where they are. so they can control what they do.
Sure.
And the president can now read all of our mail with the new executive order.
That's right.
It's ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. One world, one race, one ruler. If you liked what Hitler did, if you really liked what Hitler did, you've got to love what George Bush and this neo-Nazi cabal is doing.
And Anthony, it's not just reading our email. Actually, the law was given, the bill was that they can open up our personal mail now from the post office.
That's what I'm talking about.
And read through it.
Yeah. Now, how are they, now we know that this has been pushed now since 9/11 and before that even with Oklahoma City and with the first Trade Center attack. All of this is building, building, building. But there are a lot of people now like you, like us, like Alex Jones, like all these people questioning, and they're trying to wake up the population, and it's working. People
it's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact.
Absolutely it is.
I'm working on our fourth tape, our fourth DVD on 911. We've got Citizenship 666. We went down and went through the march, and I would ask people, these illegals who would come up and they were interviewed by me, and another fellow was speaking Spanish. He said, would you take a biochip for citizenship? And it was about 25 to 30% of the people said yes.
Yeah.
That's all they need. They need to begin the program. They can't get Americans to do this, but they can get illegals who want to stay here conditional.
Sure.
But Anthony,
taking the chip.
Anthony, I mean, Americans are going to have to take it in one way or another because as of May next year, the driver's licenses are all going to contain an RFID, a biometric chip in them.
Well, they're moving in this direction, and the worst enemy that this country has is the Christian conservative community who buys into this program. They are literally buying the mark of the beast. This Nazi group, this neo-Nazi group, this Zion-Nazi group in Washington, D.C., is following a program which leads directly towards world government. That's what they want. There isn't anything that you have, really, nothing, that they don't want or they won't be able to take away with this new chip. They're destroying the currency, and your sponsor, your gold sponsor at the beginning of the show, should be flooded, and I mean flooded with orders if they just understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're printing this fiat funny money. And we have Citizenship 666, and the Christian conservatives who buy into this, who listen to Falwell and Pat Robertson and some of these other preachers who are getting on the pulpit and preaching the gospel of the Judas goat.
They're preaching
they are Judas goats.
Yeah.
They're supporting somebody who despises Christianity and has a Nazi agenda, and they don't know it.
That's right. One of the other things that came out not too long ago was the fact that the administration was using the Christian right as a tool to get whatever they wanted, to get elected, basically. But they were laughing behind their back, saying, those suckers, we'll make them happy on the surface, and then we turn around
the
and...
Christian conservatives are used like toilet paper. And I mean just that. They're wiping their backsides. They're wiping their asses with the Christian conservative community.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't get it. They say, well, which is a Christian? But you don't lay nude in the coffin and are born again into the satanic order at the
Skull and Bones.
At the Skull and Bones tomb at Yale University, and then be able to sell Christianity. You wouldn't think that could possibly be true, but that's exactly what they do.
We got another point we got to get to it as soon as we come back from the break, Anthony. We wanted to get to it before, but $10 a gallon is another one of your DVDs that you're working on right now. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back with Anthony Hilder.